I'm so hyped up for Fontaine after seeing the trailer and fell in love with Furina's design, so I drew her. And in this video, I'm gonna share some art tips on how I did this illustration. But first, let me unbox and set up this VK1200 tablet. The tablet has a nice weight on the hand. It doesn't feel cheap. This is not sponsored, by the way, but they did send this to me for free so I can share my thoughts about it with you guys. Also, it has this button on the side that's kinda sus. Just listen. The tablet has a very good matte finish, so here's the tablet itself. It looks amazing. And on the box we have the HDMI, USB cable, extra nibs, more nibs, pen stand, and you twist it, and boom, pen stand. We also have two battery-free pens, so you don't have to worry about charging. You can draw anytime, anywhere you want. Here's the size comparison between the tablet and my hand. I don't know if my hand is big or the tablet is small, but the tablet is not that small. Now, pen stroke. Strokes are amazing, but it's sometimes kind of late. But overall, it's amazing. The pen pressure is amazing. So now let's download the driver so we can, create shortcuts, customize shortcuts. Just search on any browser you use VK1200 driver. Click the drive, download, and then choose what device you're using, and done. So here's the driver downloaded. Now let's customize the button and everything. So I've already set the button 5 and 6 to undo and redo. All of us digital artists use a lot mostly, so that's the first thing I customized. I'm using G pen for the sketch, and usually when I don't have a reference pose, this is how I usually sketch. I start with a circle, and if I have a reference pose, I break it down to simple shape. I saw some comments on how I draw head, so this tip is for you. Keep in mind the skull. Yes, the skull. Here's an image of a skull. Notice how the front view and the side view occupies the canvas space differently. The side view has a more ovally shape, while the front view has a more circular one. Also, on any angle, keep in mind how much the back of the head shows to get a more believable looking heads. Think if a brain fits in that skull. Like, ask yourself, does a brain fit in the skull? Like, would a brain fit in that? Here's an example. This is for the side view. You can see what I'm outlining in red right now, that the skull thing. Sometimes I kind of overdo this as well, so please don't overdo it, and just make sure that one brain fits, not 2 or 3. And this is for the front view, it's more circular. Then I'll continue sketching, and then if I see something wonky, I just liquefy it so I don't have to redraw it all over again. Now for the line art, I'm still using G pen and lower the sketch opacity so I can see it more clearly. Since I'm using a tablet that has pressure sensitivity, it's easier for me to have that good strokes and good line weight, because if I press harder, the line will be thicker, and if I press lightly, the line will look thinner and softer to look at. Although I don't spend much time on line art because I'll paint over it anyways. Now I added the base color for the character. After that, I added a multiply layer on top, create some contrast on where the shadows are and where the light's gonna hit the character. And this and the brush and the blush.
Let's go to the beach. It's
just the round brush, and I just used the blur tool on Clip Studio Paint. You can see me adding a yellowish highlight on the hair because that's where the light's going to hit the character. And I follow the flow of the hair so I can create a more believable looking highlights. Some of Furina's hair strands are like blue, so instead of trying hard to pick a really good color to blend well with the shadow, I just use a multiply layer on top, and then I added that blue color so it really blends well with the color that I chose for the shadows. After everything starts to look right, I then merge all the layers, and then I erase all the unnecessary stuff that are needed on the character, the excess, the overlap, when I fill in the character silhouette. Once everything is merged, it's when I start to render. On the highlight parts, when I'm starting to render, I airbrushed it so kind of makes that glowing effect on the character. And then I usually paint over on this part so everything is merged, right? So I just paint over on top, and I think for me personally, it's so much easier like do revisions and like polish the character more when it's already merged, because I can liquefy everything all at once. Although the Clip Studio Paint has this new version that you can liquefy everything all at once, but when I have too many layers, my brain cells, it's like when there's too many layers, I don't like it. For example, I want to darken some certain parts on the character, I just add a multiply layer on top and then match the color that I want. And also when I'm painting over, the line art gets covered. So after everything is done, after everything is like rendered, then I'll start to add the line art again. The shadow on the lips and the nose is just multiply layer. I continue to render everything, and most of the time, the polishing and like rendering the illustration is the most fun process for me. Oh, plus adding extra details like adding more strands to give it an illusion of detail. By the way, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of my new uploads. Also, just a disclaimer, this is not a tutorial, this is just some tips that I use personally and my personal method. This is not a tutorial. Some YouTuber might make a commentary about this shit. Those tappy YouTuber, I don't like. They make YouTube videos and then they nitpick a part of the video, then make a video about it and make false narratives and taking things out of context. Apologies for the sudden rant. Here you can see I added a multiply layer on top of everything, then I erased the parts where the light's going to hit. I already mentioned how I use multiply for the shadows, right? So for the parts that I want to lighten, I usually use the blend modes, soft light and overlay. Please don't overdo this as well, because it might look like that. So now I'm adding some ambient light or bounce light. The bounce light depends on what environment your character is in or what object gets reflected on the character. For instance, the sun provides a great ambient light outside. The bounce light is a light that's reflecting off of an existing surface and illuminating the object. Generally, it's dimmer than the key ambient light. I didn't have any water reference on this part, so I didn't like the way the water turned out. I decided to remove it because I want the viewers to focus on the character more than anything happening on the side. Then, my perfectionist ass comes in and render it a bit more. Please don't be effing perfectionist. Just practice not to. Do your best, yeah, but don't try to make it super perfect. Once I'm happy with the shadows and the lights, I start to add bounce light or ambient light. Because of the background music, I feel like I'm gonna be the next Hokage.